Hey everybody. I am just sitting here with my little dog Ernie. Um, and I was thinking to myself, I was about to do a new blog for my website because it's been a little bit. But I thought, you know what? We're all self-quarantining or are being mandated to. I'm here by myself at home in my home office. It's raining out. So I'm going to do a vlog. I did one a while back, not with me on it, but I screen shared and I recorded a video and I uploaded it to my YouTube account. And it was about using MailChimp in combination with Canva, which is like a beginner's graphic design tool to create what I thought were actually pretty high quality newsletters. I was doing that for a while. Life happens and I had to put stuff on the back burner. My clients always come first. So anything I like to do, that's great for my own business, but I want to make sure that it's not the cost of a bad experience for my clients. That's my top priority. But I got a ton of great feedback on that. A lot of people, clients, people I didn't even know, people I never even thought had ever seen the video. So they loved it. They were reaching out to me about it. So I think that resonated. So I thought I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to be in front of the camera. So I want to talk a little bit about, this is going to kind of just be just a conversation. That's pretty much, I don't really I have a little bit of notes prepared, but that's about it. So I want to talk about branding though. Right now, a lot of people's attentions are being pulled in all which way, different directions. A lot of businesses are being hit hard by this horrible, horrible public health crisis. Of course, the first priority is containing and mitigating this disease. So that is and, should be the first priority. But, we can't deny the impacts that this is having on businesses, particularly small businesses. So, I guess, my heart goes out to all of those people. I just keep thinking about it. I'm very thankful that my business is not impacted or severely disrupted by this. But I was thinking about, aspiring small business owners, startup owners, people who are looking to branch out, even if they're, even if it's not your traditional business, you might be like a independent contractor or, a consultant of some sort. We're all here for in the next 2 to 3 weeks with a lot of time in our hands for many of us. So I thought, why not talk about branding? And maybe this could be a good opportunity to, be introspective and think about some of those things. What is, even if it's just reminding ourselves, what's the importance of branding? We can get so focused on just the day-to-day, day-to-day stuff, day-to-day business functions. Like even if you do have an established business, I know for me, I do branding for a living, and it's just the common thing. That's why so many of my clients reach out to me because they don't have time for it. And I find myself even struggling with, having time for it and thinking about it. What is the importance of branding, or what are the goals or desired outcomes of branding efforts? Those are significantly important questions to ask, but I feel like a lot of us, it just can fall to the wayside. So this could be a good time to be introspective. We're all home, working from home, whatever it might be. So I thought I'd get into it a little bit, help you guys out. I know a couple people too who are personally starting new ventures of their own. So this is really good stuff to ask yourself. So it might go without saying, but what is the importance of branding? Seems pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go over it anyways. So forgive me too, because I'm reading off of some notes too. It is what it is. This is a casual conversation. I'm not here to, I'm very familiar with public speaking, but I'm just kind of doing this off the cuff. So here we go. So branding is crucial. We all know that. It's critical for developing a consistent and effective customer experience across multiple platforms. So think about your website, content marketing. That's what I specialize in. Your blogs, your website copy, your email copy, your white papers, your case studies, social media. So really, I think the two operative words there is consistent and effective. So you can have a really strong brand persona, but it needs to be consistent. And that requires, again, that introspection, really thinking about it, because every single thing you do has to really be aligned. It has to add up. It has to be recognizable, whether it's a year from now, today, a month from now, on your website, the social content you're posting. And that's where a lot of people, they start to just get exhausted. They start to, their fumes start happening, and they're just like, it's just a lot. But if you have a plan, you'll be set. You just need to have a plan, you need to be prepared. So your customers need to relate to your brand's visual identity, your voice, your values, your personality. You want to be recognizable, so that's where the consistency comes in, but you also want to be memorable. So creating a really strong brand, that's what's going to help you develop the necessary loyalty, that customer loyalty that's necessary for them to continually engage with you and then, subsequently spend with you. You need to take the right steps, and it is possible to develop a relevant brand that customers will love. And we see that all over. Some of my favorite brands that I see that are super consistent, Apple, Coca-Cola. I just saw Apple had an amazing, I love all of their marketing. I just saw an amazing International Women's Day campaign that they were running where, all these amazing, strong, incredible women were using, they're on their Apple products and their cell phones or their smartphones or iPhones or their MacBooks. And I loved that. So, let's get a little bit into, again, self-explanatory, but let's get a little bit into the goals, desired goals and outcomes. So obviously you want to create greater customer loyalty. We've already discussed that. You want to be less sensitive to competitors. So clearly research, unanimously shows that customers are willing to pay more for relationship and quality of service over pricing. So if you have a bad, an inconsistent brand or a brand that's not customer focused or whatever it might be, you're more sensitive to competitive pricing. You want to increase new usage of products or services. So you want a strong brand. You want a brand that entices people, invites them. Obviously, you want to focus on aligning marketing efforts, which is branding is critical for. Developing strategic partnerships. So depending on how big your business is, you might be contacting suppliers or outside firms, or, you might be outsourcing to different people. So let's say you hire somebody like me, for instance. A lot of my clients, they'll provide me with branding guides. Essentially, this is the whole purpose of this video, is to help you create a branding guide, essentially. That's something I really wish I did in the beginning. I didn't quite understand. This was years and years and years ago. I didn't quite understand even myself. I thought, oh, well, I'm just a one-woman show. I'll figure it out as I go along. And I did. And I'm very pleased with the consistency I have now. But it took a long time. And I really wish I had sat down and understood the importance of really thinking and reflecting and all that. So, developing strategic partnerships is huge for branding. You don't want there to be confusion. You want people to understand, if I hand something off to a graphic designer, a videographer, a content marketer, you want there to be colors, primary and secondary colors established that they follow, guidelines. They're your tone of voice when you write, the kind of typography, your general feel or vibe, if you will. So, and then of course, branding helps to guide internal decision making too. So there's, in my opinion, and I think pretty much across the board, 4 core pillars of effective branding. So there's visual brand identity, so what you see; brand voice, what you read, what you hear, in a commercial or, whatever that might be. Brand values, so that's like the unspoken but clearly present. It's essentially the foundation of your business. And your brand personality, which is the fun, customer facing. I like to think of the brand values as the roots, and the brand personality as like the branches and the leaves, and it's like, what's shaken. But the roots are the solid foundation. that you need to nurture. So I feel like, together these components create the look, the feel, and the tone of your company to the outside world. So, your brand, obviously, it will evolve over time. I know mine did. But taking the time now to define your company is very valuable and necessary. So, I might just make this a little series, because why not? Because I don't want this to be like too long, and I want to make it digestible, but, I'd say, I think in this video, I'm going to tackle just basic questions to start considering, and then also go into the visual brand identity, then come back and wrap up with the other voice, values, and personality. So creating your brand, basic questions to consider. Who are your customers? What customers do you want to have? That's a very interesting one. I think you should even start with that first, because obviously, if you're an established business or if you're kind of getting on your feet, you have some customers, you know who they are, but what customers do you want to have? That's, unquestionably more important to ask. Who are your competitors? What is your competitor's brand position? What problem does your company solve? So these are for super beginner, like I'm literally just starting from scratch. I want to start a new business. Congrats, that's amazing. But it's also good to use as like a benchmark, if you're kind of doing, I feel like at the end of every year, we always, you might sit down and kind of have like your little survey of like, what was the highlight of my year? What was this? And you use it as a way to gauge your progress and, personal well-being and personal growth and development. It's the same thing for businesses too. I mean, you can sit down and ask yourself these questions. There's no harm in it. So really, this is for any business, really. So who are your customers? What customers do you want to have? Who are your competitors? What are your competitors' brand position? And what problem does your company solve? That's going to really help with marketing. Just streamlining it, really just having, again, consistency, alignment, awareness. I mean, you don't want your pitch to just be something you came off the top of your head with. You want to have something prepared, something intelligently put together. So that's really important in terms of like, what problem does your company solve? That will lead you to your value proposition. It's just going to help you to put the pieces together and make it that much easier. So visual brand identity, questions to consider. So so before we even get into logo, because that was the next question I had, I mean, you have to create a logo. So this is kind of, I guess this question is assuming you already have a logo. So I'll put it this way. If you have a logo already, ask yourself how your logo communicates your brand. So, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to talk about logos because, I just created mine. I'm a one-woman show here. It's not like my logo is, it's pertinent, to any business, but it's not like I don't know. I would say, I'm not going to lie here. I do content marketing. I dabble in graphic design, but logo creation is not my specialty here. So I would say if you have a logo, whether you created it with, what is it? I think it's Fiverr. There are so many, hey, no judgment, like Fiverr, Canva, what is it? Taylor Designs. There are so many like lower level, and listen, again, no judgment. I've been there before, like, or if you use an independent, I know a few people in my network who do specialize in graphic design and stuff like that and logo creation. However you have a logo, if you have one, just ask yourself, how does it communicate your brand? How do you want it to communicate your brand? How do you think customers are expecting for it to communicate your brand? Colors, font, if there's an icon of some sort. So we're going to get into this really quick. So your company's logo is one of the most important aspects of your visual brand identity. So an effective logo, I know for me, like my brand aesthetic, I kind of just wanted my logo to represent that. So I stick with very pastel colors, very muted, calm, cool, professional, of course, but I just want it to feel relaxed, and almost like therapeutic, like very calm, very calming, very muted, minimal, neutral colors. If you have ever read my book, actually, I have a copy here. I'm not really trying to go there with the whole book thing, but I'll show you. So let me see where I think I have a copy here. So you can see, and I'll show you like it's just very neutral. Very neutral, very calming, very minimal, but not too simple and minimal. So that's kind of my aesthetic. That's what, and honestly, when I started out, I just created something based on what I thought I'd like. I mean, it's kind of hard because I'm in B2B, so I'm not in a typical business to consumer model. So obviously for B2C, you have to think about what your existing customer base. But I also had to think about my customer base. I mean, I cater to large scale technology organizations. I mean, so I did want to take that into consideration. I wanted to have a consumerized feel, but also, I wanted to take into consideration my pool of, clients and what resonates with them. So I would say, your logo has to be original. And really at the end of the day, if you stick to yourself, if you just stick to yourself, you'll always be original. You just can't go wrong. Even if you feel like I just threw this together, or, oh, like, I just feel like I really don't know what I'm doing. Like, just stick to yourself, follow your gut. Even if like for me, I know I like minimal, classic, very timeless, neutral, calm, muted colors, earthy, neutral. So I just stuck with that. And you can't go wrong. Just be original. You are your most original. You're the most original thing you can bring to the table. There are no other yous. You are your, one and only. So don't overthink it. Timeless. Again, your logo should age well over time. It should be classic. It should be easily recognizable. That's another one. You don't want to be too convoluted. That's why simple is just better, in my opinion. Adaptable. So this is more from like a graphic design perspective. Your logo should be able to translate well from like a thumb drive to a much larger scale, or it should translate, well between both prints and digital formats. You don't want it to be so big that it's not recognizable in, a snapshot of, Instagram, or like in Facebook, the little circle that people see in conversations or at your stories. But you don't want it to be so small and convoluted and busy looking that it's just like, oh, that's just an eyesore. Memorable. So memorable is kind of a difficult concept to test, in terms of like measurably testing how memorable a logo is, but it should leave a lasting impression. And the best way to gauge that is just to ask, just run surveys, just ask friends and family, whoever. I mean, however small you're starting, just get feedback, however, you can. And relevance, of course, your logo should be clearly connected to your industry or products or services. So for me, I could have easily done something where it was like a pencil or some sort of icon of digital marketing, content marketing, but I didn't. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it has to have some sort of applicable icon, but I think just do what looks best, go with your gut. So the next question to ask in terms of your visual brand identity, font. This is a big one actually, and this is one that I really wish I thought more about because it took a long time. It really did. It took a long time. Font, I think, it's more important than I think many people realize. So it communicates a lot more than just letters. It can impart feelings of energy, fun, humor, traditionalism. It's a huge connection to your brand personality. So, just like colors, we associate emotions and adjectives with font. So I'm trying to think of some fonts here. So we've got like Times New Roman, Georgia, Garamond. I think that's how you pronounce it. But those are very like traditional, authoritative even. Times New Roman, we all know that. That's our good old high school, college essays. Then you've got, Ariel, Verdana, forgive me, this is horrible. I should know how to pronounce these, but those are more modern, a little more like clean. Then you've got things like Courier. That's, a little bolder, a little stronger. Then we know like there's like Lobster, Brush Script, the more elegant, friendly, creative ones, the ones you see in a lot of like Etsy shops, and that's like the big one right now. Or those are some of the big ones right now. And then you've got the modern fonts. So you've got like Politica, Eurostyle, Matchbook. So those are some of the more like fashionable, stylish kind of ones, exclusive, if you will. And all of this will be dependent on the industry you're operating in, your customer base again. So, but I feel like a lot of brands' visual guidelines include at least 2 to 3 different fonts. I know for me, I have a primary font and a couple secondary fonts. And that's something I really should go back and revisit, because like for a while I was just slapping things on and I was like, okay, this was like years and years and years ago. But now, I've got my primary and my secondary, but it's still good to revisit. So that's something definitely, this stuff takes so long. I don't think people fully realize, like, that's why it's like, yeah, you can just use, creating a website, you can just totally plug and play and use like a Wix template. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, yeah, and you're done in like 2 hours. But if you really want something that's authentic and intuitive and, is really a representation of you, it takes a long time. You might, have to go through an entire web page plugging in different primary and secondary fonts just to see what looks good. And it might look good on paper for somebody else, but how does it look for your website? And it just takes a lot of time. So that's a good thing. If you're sitting home and you have nothing to do, play around. It takes forever, for me at least. I mean, I know for me, I've put, I think I revamped my website like fully maybe a couple years ago, a year and a half ago. And I've easily put at least 50 to 60 hours, just fine tuning, tweaking, changing things up every now and then, because you also don't want it to just be static and just the same all the time. So, okay, so now colors. So we're still in the whole visual brand identity realm. Colors. Obviously, we also associate emotions with colors. So your brand's primary and supporting colors are an important component of visual identity, and you want to select them, those that represent your brand values. You want to select colors that communicate your company's mission. So it's interesting. I mean, the psychology behind it. So, you've got blue. Blue represents integrity, trust, tranquility. Again, that like very peaceful, calm. My brand logo is a very neutral, muted shade of blue. So that's kind of something I'm going for. Like with my logo, with my whole brand aesthetic, really, I try and just communicate like tranquility, peace. Like, I've got you, you're struggling with whatever, content marketing initiative or campaign or goal, or, oh my gosh, I'm overloaded. I have so much content I need to create. I just want my clients to feel a wave of calm and tranquility, knowing that I'm a solid, stable fixture they can rely on, relax. Anybody who knows me knows I'm very much about just like peace and positivity and optimism. And I just want to evoke that to my clients. I don't want them feeling anything different than that. Green, growth, freshness, money, environmental friendliness, if that's, the realm you play in. Yellow is happiness, originality, energy. Purple, spirituality, luxury, royalty. It's a very interesting color. Pink, compassion, playfulness, femininity. If you're in the feminine, specifically feminine kind of, business. Red, power, strength, passion. Orange, courage, originality, success. One of my brands I basically live and breathe by, or organizations I live and breathe by, the Content Marketing Institute, is all about orange. White, cleanliness, purity, freshness. That's another thing. White is a big deal for me. I stick with a lot of neutrals or just classics like white, because I want to convey that to my clients. What I provide is clean, it's fresh, it's pure, it's original, it's it's in terms of the content and the product, the quality of the product that I produce. Black, elegance, drama, strength. So Another thing to think about too is if you're catering to a global base, think about how different colors resonate with different demographics or cultures. Colors can have different associations with culture. So I guess at the end of the day, when it comes to your visual brand identity, be distinctive, not different, not just different. I feel like there's just so much of that, and it's just really just tiring. I don't know, from a marketer's perspective, I just feel like so many people feel like they have to be out there and crazy and, for customers to perceive them as different, and AKA, that translates into valuable, but that's so not the case. Just do what you do it well, be authentic, be you. There's only one you. That's distinctive, in my opinion. So, different can be something that customers just perceive as a breath of fresh air, or something they feel as being simply authentic and genuine. In many cases, that's truly how it is. Just stay true to yourself. So hopefully you're enjoying this. I'm at 26 minutes now, so definitely going to stop here. But I do want to get into brand voice, brand values, brand personality, and then there's so much more too. I mean, I have like research on what consumers want most from brands. So this is something I'm hoping you're enjoying. But if you are, please share, because I have really no other way of knowing. Comment on social, give this a like when I share it on social, comment here on the blog, however you want, share it. Side note though, and I really hate doing this, I really do, but honest to God, you guys, if you're just kind of home alone and you do like personal growth and development, or you have a business, or you know somebody with a business, anything, literally, I'd love for you to just check out this book, like truly, because there's so much. I mean, I don't even have the time to go through it myself. I haven't even gone through my own book myself to really sit down and write and journal, because it's an interactive guide, really. It's not just a book. So for instance, like all the way towards the back, it's got questions that you can answer and write in, and, you can read stories and hear personal accounts. And, like for instance, if you could go back in time, how would you handle certain situations, or list a certain amount of people in your life who you feel, you want to emulate, or who handle situations well. So it's really about not just business, growth and such, but personal development. So there's actually a 10-page personal development journal. So really this is a great time. Like if you really find yourself feeling anxious because you have too much time on your hands, I would say maybe check it out. I'm hoping I might have time even too, because I still have a full workload, which is great. Totally cool with that. Loving that. Feel very thankful. But yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, maybe I will hop on here next week or in a couple weeks and talk about the other aspects of branding. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Don't panic. We're all going to be okay. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.